Alright, figured I'd make a video on my car here. Getting ready to take it in. Figured some people might enjoy learning a little bit or maybe hear about my experience, but essentially going on about 5 years ago, took it out. It was blowing white smoke out of the exhaust. Immediately thought, well, heads are shot or the head gaskets are shot. So tore it all down and figured I'd start saving to rebuild the heads. And here I am 5 years later, and well, it's pretty much at the exact same spot. Heads are off, intake's off, pretty much the whole top half of the motor's off. Still have everything, but long story short, it's sat for 5 years like this, and it's time to kind of do something about it. So talked to a couple different shops that specialize in hot rods, muscle cars, older cars. So pretty much everybody recommended, hey, with the head sitting off the engine that long, might as well get a new motor or rebuild this one. Didn't know what to do about the motor. Thought about it first doing an LS conversion. Ultimately just decided I didn't want to do that to this car. I just didn't want to open up the motor and see a newer fuel injected motor. Nothing against LS builds. I think LS motors are great motors. Personally, one of my favorite motors, but just wasn't right for this car for me, so threw that out. So the car came with a 350 from the factory, and it's got a 396 in it now, or half of a 396 right now. And then my other question was, or my next options for me, was to either rebuild the 396 or go get a new motor. And I leaned toward it first, just rebuilding the 396. Figured it's just kind of the easier way to go. Figured I could just contact a shop, they'll pull the motor out, rebuild it, throw it back in, done. But as I was doing some research, talked to, like I said, a few different shops, and for the cost of rebuilding the 396 and sticking it back in, after some research, I figured I could get a built 454. Actually, it's a 468 for the same price. So actually, a couple thousand less. So that's what I did. I looked around. At first, I mean, eBay's got some 454s out there. There's a local guy that's just probably half hour away from me that he rebuilds 454s, and thought about going that route. Found a guy though that is well known for big block Chevy motors, and decided to pay a little extra money, get it done through him. But really excited for it. In fact, if I can, what I'll do is I'll probably link part of the video of the motor that I got on the dyno. So it dynoed on the engine dyno. It dynoed at, I believe it was 580 horsepower or 579 horsepower and 580 torque, something like that. But it was 579 and 580, whatever it was. So hopefully that's going to give me a little more than 500 to the wheels, and I guess we'll see on that. I'll definitely want to get this on the dyno when it's all said and done. So but you know, I didn't want to just build the motor. Once you put a motor in, I had other issues that I wanted to address. For one, this still has the original brakes on it, so it still has the original drum brakes all around. Definitely didn't want to keep those, especially with putting in a 580 horsepower motor. So I am converting the front with a Willwood disc brake kit, and the backs I'm just rebuilding. We can keep those drum, and I'm just going to rebuild them. So that'll hopefully help. Man, where to start? This project originally started with just rebuilding the heads, slapping new heads on there, or the rebuilt heads, and that'd be it. I was going to do all the labor myself. You know, my original project, or the original project had the initial budget of like $2,000, $3,000 maybe, something like that. And you know, even if I went over that, if I needed to, you know, it is what it is. But first off, I made the mistake of leaving the heads off for too long. So, you know, that's on me. But now it's like, well, if I'm going to get it back on the road, if I'm going to spend the money on a new motor, might as well do this whole thing right. So the disc brakes are really just a safety thing at this point. And then I'm going to redo the exhaust. The exhaust is getting done. I have my headers back. And I'm also doing the electric cutouts. So the mufflers I'm going to put on are actually going to be a kind of a more quiet muffler. I think I'm going to go with a Dynamax exhaust. And but you know, I'll have the cutouts, so if I want it to be loud, I can make it loud. All new suspension, UMI Performance 2-inch lowering suspension, and I got their stage 1 handling kit, which includes springs, sway bars, polyurethane bushings for both sway bars. Everything else I kept rubber bushings, though. I've already rebuilt the front end, new control arm bushings, new ball joints, all that stuff. So did all that. I'm getting new rear control arms as well. And actually, I'll just read down the list here because, like I said, it kind of turned into a whole project. The other issue I had with this car is it's got 411 gears in it, and the problem is going down the highway at 70 miles an hour. I mean, this thing screams. So I didn't want to do that. Didn't want to, you know, if I'm going to put a new motor in there, I don't want it to work if I'm on the highway, or at least work that much. No reason for that. So went back and forth. That was a whole debate, but was trying to decide on 308 gears or 342 gears is what it came down to, and I ended up going with the 342s. Should be significantly better than the 411s for sure for the driving that I do. But I'm going to have the shop do all the work, because what ends up happening is I start a project, I get tied up with other stuff, and then, you know, a project that should take a day or two ends up taking a month or two. So I just don't have the time. I mean, now we're getting into snowmobile season, and I got my snowmobile all torn down. So that's kind of the project for this winter is this. Snowmobile is just getting new headlights is all. It's not a project, but so that's what I'm gonna do, and hopefully here within about a month or two we'll have it running. But anyways, back to the list. So getting the motor pulled and then putting the new one in, getting new headers, the cutouts, there's miscellaneous stuff, Willwood front disc brakes installing, the 342 rear end, Auburn posi track, let's see, water pump, fuel pump, power steering pump, all that's getting new, getting a new fuel tank, new fuel lines, new sending unit, let's see. Oh, well, the only thing I'm not really replacing on this car is the transmission. It's a 400 turbo. Like the transmission, never had an issue with it, so all I'm having to do is just do a servicing on it. Just going to put new fluid in there and change out the filter. What else here? Oh, they're going to rebuild. I have a 750 QFT carb. They're going to rebuild that for me. And page 2, because this quote takes 2 pages. That's just parts. So that's essentially what's going on. There's some miscellaneous stuff too that's not a big deal, but for the most part, that's it. Kind of crazy saying that's it, considering this project started with, like I said, just the heads being rebuilt. But I'm going to end up pulling the motor. That's another thing too. I can make a whole video series on owning an older car and kind of the stuff you deal with. But you definitely deal with a bunch of stuff with an older car. Like when I bought this, the previous owner had said the motor had been built up. It was, you know, he said the motor was pushing about 600 horsepower. Never really bought it, but then again, I'd never driven a 600 horsepower car before. So, you know, never took it to the dyno. But anyways, we got a good deal on it. So, you know, it is what it is. But this motor was not ever built. It's got the standard pistons in it, the stamping on the top. I don't know if the camera's going to pick it up, but it says STD for standard. So it was definitely never built. He said it was bored 60 over. So anyways, just moving forward and kind of excited to get this new motor in there. And like I said, I thought I'd make just a little series on maybe this project, maybe this car in general. There's a lot of stuff I want to do with it. After I get it running and mechanically sound, I want to switch out the wheels and tires, take it on some trips and do some things. So I'm kind of excited to get this thing going. And well, that's about it, I think. I've got all the original parts. I don't know if anybody's going to be watching this and interested, but I am going to be pulling out that 396, and we'll probably throw it up for sale. But yeah, got a lot going on. And now the one good thing is the interior is actually in pretty good shape. And of course it's nighttime, so not exactly the best lighting, but the interior is actually pretty good. So not really doing much in there, have no plans to do much in there. Just cleaning up some electrical stuff. Clean up the actual car. The car's been sitting in the barn for a while. It's kind of gross. Cleaned it up a few months ago. But I think that's it. I think depending on how many likes this video gets, or you know, comments, whatever, you know, maybe I'll do a little video series on the restoration. And it's not really a full restoration, but it's definitely bringing it back to life. So might do that. I guess we'll see. But well, I'm getting excited though. It's not far away. So I was actually going to drop this off this week, but I'm actually going to Mexico at the end of the week, and I talked to the guy that's doing the build, and basically wanted to be available for him if he needed me. So kind of decided, well, when I get back, I'm going to drop it off the day after I get back. So that's the plan. Load it up on a trailer, get it over to him. Supposedly this is going to take 2 weeks. We'll see if it's been anything. If this goes like any other part of this project has gone, it's going to take a month or at least. That's one thing I learned really quick, was pretty much anything you do for this, it takes longer than expected for sure. So, but I'll be excited when it's all done. It should be done for sure by next season. I live in Indiana, so it's getting cold. It's November, so. Anyways, like the video, comment if you want. Like I said, I thought about doing a little series of, you know, these videos, maybe go over the costs and everything. I have no problem sharing that info, so maybe be valuable for somebody that's maybe in the same boat, maybe not with a Chevelle, but you know, anything else. But I guess that's one thing I didn't go over, but this is a 1968 Chevelle Super Sport. So, well, I think that's it for now, and I guess we'll see what the next video is, maybe a update from the shop. So anyways, thanks for watching. Like and subscribe. Thanks.